Thrawn is hands down one of the best villains in Star Wars, so let's get you up to speed on what he's all about before he makes his live-action debut in the Ahsoka series. What's up, my comic comrades? The Disney Plus Ahsoka series is almost upon us, and I, for one, am super excited. I know a lot of you are down on the current Star Wars content, and Mando Season 3 was very mediocre, but the first two seasons are the best live-action Star Wars content since Disney bought Lucasfilm. And a big reason why Mandalorian is so epic is because of Star Wars legend Dave Filoni's involvement with the series. Well, with that in mind, Filoni wrote and directed the entire first season of Ahsoka, and based on the trailers, it basically just looks like Rebels Season 5 in live action form. Which is definitely a compliment, as Rebels is a crazy good Star Wars series in general. As a matter of fact, Star Wars Rebels introduced Grand Admiral Thrawn into Star Wars canon. He first appeared in Star Wars Legends novels and comics, but he was officially brought into the fold in Rebels, where he was voiced by the great Lars Mikkelsen, who will be reprising his role as Thrawn for the Ahsoka series. And it will all set up and lead into the events in Dave Filoni's announced Star Wars movie, which will apparently be a loose live-action interpretation of Heir to the Empire. All that to say, Thrawn has become one of the best and most loved villains within a galaxy far, far away. And for good reason. So let's dive into his origins, shall we? Hold up, before we dive in, you may have noticed our Variant Labs merch shelf under today's video. That's right, if you haven't heard, we have officially launched our Variant Labs merch store thanks to today's sponsor, Printful. We've got all kinds of dope new Variant gear like this shirt, along with other Variant themed shirts, hats, hoodies, sweats, beanies, backpacks, and a bunch more. Again, all built and made possible through Printful. Like many content creators, our time is consumed with the creation of entertaining content for all of you, and we don't have the time or manpower to deal with the logistics of printing tees, posters, hats, mugs, and so on, manage inventory in our office, and then handle all the shipping on top of that. But that is exactly where Printful steps in, because they've created a simple and practical platform to bring our merch ideas to life. Printful takes on all the time-consuming logistics, and it really is a one-stop shop for print on demand with global fulfillment. In fact, some of the things we think are the biggest advantages with Printful are the quality of their products, quick fulfillment in 2 to 5 days, no order minimums, competitive shipping rates, and they basically make the process risk-free for the creator. So check out Variant Labs merch at variantcomics.com or shop the merch shelf below. And if you're a fellow creator, you could start a print-on-demand store yourself with Printful without inventory risk and no upfront investment. Just click the link in our description. Thrawn was created by Timothy Zahn and first appeared in Star Wars Legends, Heir to the Empire in 1991, and then in Star Wars canon in Star Wars Rebels in the 2016 episode titled Steps into the Shadow. But let's briefly start with Star Wars Legends, where Thrawn was created. Thrawn first appeared in Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire. This is book 1 of the Star Wars The Thrawn Trilogy. It takes place 9 years after the Battle of Yavin and 5 years after Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Remember, this is Legends continuity, so don't try to line this timeline up with Rebels and the Ahsoka series. We'll touch on the canon part after this. Anyway, Grand Admiral Thrawn is the most brilliant of the Empire's minions, reaching the rank of Grand Admiral in the Imperial Navy. What's very distinct about Thrawn is he's not a human. He's a member of the Chiss species from the planet Scylla, having blue skin and red eyes. Now you may be saying, what's so distinct about Thrawn being from an alien species when every other character in the Star Wars universe is an alien species? Well, for one, he was the only non-human to become a Grand Admiral in the Imperial Navy, which is the highest rank. He was also the last Grand Admiral promoted by Emperor Palpatine himself. But even the Emperor was forced to keep Thrawn's promotion a secret due to the Empire's prejudice towards anyone who is not part of the human race. Hence us not seeing him until after Return of the Jedi with the fall of Emperor Palpatine. Again, much of this would change when he was introduced to canon, but this was our first outing with the character. In Legends, Thrawn was introduced as a strategical genius. Dude is pretty much Batman, always being 5 steps ahead of everyone. You can kind of say he was introduced as the Sherlock Holmes of Star Wars, even having a Watson in the form of Captain Pelion, who we saw make an appearance in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, episode chapter 23 to be exact. In Zahn's Thrawn Trilogy, which consisted of Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command, we see Thrawn outmaneuver the Republic at almost every corner. Again, he is not Force sensitive. He is not the strongest character or the most physically imposing with great abilities, but he is certainly the most brilliant strategist and mind the Imperial Navy and Empire have to offer aside from the Emperor himself. Because of this, he almost took down the Republic and almost killed the Supreme Commander of the Rebel Alliance, Admiral Akbar. You see, long story short, basically in Heir to the Empire from 1991, Thrawn devises a plan to take down the New Republic, despite the Republic having the number advantage over the remaining Imperial forces as the Empire fell once Luke and Vader defeated the Emperor. In the story, Thrawn plots to destroy the New Republic even with the Republic having an advantage. Towards the end of the book, Thrawn is forced to withdraw his forces, but thanks to his genius and playing the long game, he was able to have his nemesis, the New Republic's Admiral Ackbar arrested for treason. Then in Book 2 Dark Force Rising from 1992, we learned that before the Clone Wars, the Old Republic had constructed a fleet of automated heavy cruisers. This fleet was known as the Katana Fleet, and Thrawn would claim this fleet, temporarily giving him the upper hand on the Republic, literally outmaneuvering Luke, Han, and Lando. However, even though things look good for Thrawn and his remaining Imperial forces in the third and final book, titled The Last Command from 1993, Luke and Leia lead a group that destroy the cloning facility on Wayland, which Thrawn had set his sights on in Heir to the Empire. It was a storehouse of Emperor Palpatine that had a bunch of cloning cylinders and a cloaking shield. Now what's even crazier is at the end of The Last Command, Thrawn and Captain Pellaeon find out that the Nagri helped the attack on Wayland. At which point Thrawn's Nagri bodyguard, Rout, shoots Thrawn in the chest with his last words being, "But it was so artistically done," speaking to the brilliance of his plan and that he should have won. But with Thrawn's death, Captain Pellaeon orders the Imperial forces to retreat, bringing the Thrawn Trilogy to an end. Now that's a quick summary of Thrawn in Legends, but he became part of official Star Wars canon in Star Wars Rebels as mentioned earlier, which takes place a decade after Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith and ends before Rogue One and the original Star Wars trilogy. Anyway, in Star Wars canon, Thrawn's overall character stayed the same, still being a genius, ruthless strategist for the Empire, as we see him appear as the main antagonist in Rebels Seasons 3 and 4. We learn that Thrawn is all about the long game. He doesn't necessarily care about winning the battle, as he is planning and plotting to win the war. So often we see the rebels have small victories without Thrawn being too upset, as he's playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing 2D chess, knowing he just set moves in place that will secure his victory down the line. Thrawn is able to do this because of his intelligence and patience. Throughout the 2 seasons Thrawn has appeared in Rebels, we see that he's dedicated himself to learning everything about his opponents and their history. He studies their philosophy, art, and culture to better understand them, going as far to even gather and collect specific culture artifacts that he collects as art pieces. Some of these races include the Twi'leks and the Mandalorians. Because of this, when Governor Price sought to find a commander capable of taking down the rebels of Lothal, aka Ezra, Kanan, Hera, Sabine, Zeb, and Chopper, Thrawn stepped up, accepting the challenge, and sought to systematically take down the rebels. And he would have won if it wasn't for Ezra saving the day in this series finale of Rebels. As Thrawn and his fleet are about to defeat the rebels and destroy Ezra's homeworld, Ezra arrives on Thrawn's ship as Thrawn is notified that several unidentified objects have destroyed his blockade of ships. He orders to get Captain Pellaeon on the line, and when he does, Pellaeon says, "Sir, they came out of hyperspace." As his line goes dead, Ezra tells Thrawn, "Take a look." As he sees outside his ship, Ezra has enlisted the help of the Purgles, purple space whales that have the abilities to jump into hyperspace. Ezra's Purgle friends then burst through the windshields and restrain Thrawn with their tentacles, as Ezra tells Hera and Sabine he has to see this through to the end, having the Purgles jump into hyperspace, taking Ezra, Thrawn, and his entire ship with them away from Lothal to an unknown location, saving the planet and the rebels. Then at the very end of the episode, Ahsoka shows up enlisting the help of Sabine to go find Ezra, which will lead us directly into the Ahsoka series, with several years having passed since the Rebels finale. So this is where we will find out what happened to Ezra and Thrawn. But let's jump back to the beginning, as Marvel Comics and Lucasfilm gave us the new official origin of Thrawn in the 2018 6-issue comic series simply titled Thrawn. In issue 1 of Thrawn, we learn that Thrawn is an exiled Chiss. Being exiled, he's living in the woods, and he would stumble upon Imperials taking down stormtroopers and putting on his armor, disguising himself as a trooper. However, back in an Imperial destroyer, he was caught by other stormtroopers asking for his identification, at which point he's forced to take off his helmet, revealing he is a Chiss. Captain Park then comes over and starts interrogating him with the help of a translator, Cadet Vanto, who speaks Sai-Bisti, the native language of the Chiss. But when Captain Park learns Thrawn speaks Basic, the Star Wars universe's version of English, he demands he speaks Basic instead. We learn that Thrawn's real name is Mithra Nuru Odu, but he tells them, "I believe it would be easier for you to call me Thrawn." Park then says, "I gather you were on that planet for quite a while. I could see why you so desperately wanted to leave." Thrawn replies, "I was not desperate, but my people need me. There are many dangers in the galaxy. Dangers to my people, dangers to yours." Park asks, "You were shipwrecked?" Thrawn replies, "I was exiled. The leaders and I disagreed. They do not accept beliefs in preemptive attacks," telling us out the gate what kind of guy Thrawn is. Shortly after this, Park tells Cadet Vanto, "You're assigned as liaison and translator and aide to our prisoner, and we're taking him to Coruscant. I believe the Emperor may be interested in meeting him and learning about these Chiss." When Thrawn is presented in front of the Emperor says, "Captain Park, I told you to bring me a gift." Thrawn then says, "If I may, Your Majesty, I am not merely a gift. I am also a resource, one you have never seen the like of before, and may never see again. You would do well to utilize me." The Emperor says, "Certainly, you're a resource of unlimited confidence. What exactly do you offer, Chiss?" Thrawn replies, There are threats lurking in the unknown regions that will someday find your empire. I am familiar with them. I offer my military skills to utilize making plans to seek out and eliminate these dangers. The Emperor asks, and what exactly do you wish from my empire? Thrawn tells him a state of mutual gain. I offer my knowledge and skill to you now in exchange for your consideration to my people in the future. Park interjects saying, you stated your people exiled you. Thrawn replies, they are still my people. With the Emperor asking, and when the future comes, what if I refuse to grant the consideration to your people? Thrawn tells him, then I will have gambled and lost. The Emperor then asks, tell me, if you serve the Empire, yet a threat arose against your people, where would your loyalties lie? Which of us would command your allegiance? Thrawn says, if I were to serve the Empire, you would command my allegiance. With the Emperor saying, what guarantee do you offer? Thrawn says, my word is my guarantee. Perhaps your servant can speak of the strength of that vow. The Emperor says, my servant, with Thrawn saying, perhaps I assumed incorrectly that he was your servant. Yet he always spoke highly of Chancellor Palpatine. His name is Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker. That's right, Thrawn years before this had encountered Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars, while on reconnaissance missions that were detailed in the novels Thrawn Alliances and Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising. Anyway, the Emperor responds, interesting. And your name? Thrawn tells him Mithra Nuru Odu. As the Emperor says, so it was you. When Captain Park's message arrived, I hoped it was. Thrawn then asks, did Skywalker survive the war then? He replied, sadly he did not, with Thrawn saying, I mourn his passing. He was cunning and courageous, but as we know, and the Emperor knows, he didn't die, he just became Darth Vader. And given little hints here and there in Thrawn's intellect, it can be assumed that Thrawn knows Darth Vader is in fact Anakin Skywalker, which is why he brought him up in the first place. Anyway, the Emperor agrees that Skywalker was courageous, and before his end, he detailed to me the circumstances of your meeting. He spoke highly of your abilities. So you wish to become my advisor on matters of the unknown regions? Thrawn replies, my home is lost to me. Jedi Skywalker services are lost to you. If you wish my direct service as a replacement to his, I am honored to offer it. There is only one favor I ask in return, your majesty. I would request my translator be transferred to duty at my side. So with the Emperor taking a liking to Thrawn, he lets him take his translator and enrolls him into the Royal Imperial Academy, where he instantly gets the rank of lieutenant. Then over the course of the 6-issue miniseries, he works his way up through the Imperial ranks very quickly. Then towards the end of issue 6 of the series, it ties into season 3 of Rebels, where Imperial Governor Price tells Thrawn, I have an insurgent situation on Lothal. I've had some discussions with Moff Tarkin. He's not happy that our local rebels are hitting other places in the region. He wants me to find a solution. I think that solution is you, as we get a picture of the rebels. Directly after this on Coruscant, we see Thrawn get promoted from Admiral to Grand Admiral as the Emperor presents him with his new ranking, saying, congratulations, Grand Admiral. An excellent day for you, an excellent day for my empire. Though I fear many will not see it that way, with Thrawn saying, I will endeavor to settle their hearts and minds at ease. The issue then ends with Vader walking in as the Emperor says, Lord Vader, come join us. I don't believe you have met Darth Vader, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Thrawn replies, I greet you, Lord Vader. I have heard a great deal about you. I am pleased we have finally met. As Thrawn is clearly looking at Vader, knowing he is Anakin Skywalker. And just like that, you now know how Thrawn rose through the ranks in Star Wars canon. He literally became a Grand Admiral right before going after the rebels. But anyway, guys, that is our summary of who Thrawn is both in Legends and canon continuities. If he's anything like he's been in the novels, comics, or Rebels, we are in for a treat, as I would say he's easily top 5 Star Wars villains, maybe even top 3. But what are your thoughts? Let us know what you think about Thrawn. Did you dig his Legends version or canon version better? And are you excited to see him in Ahsoka? Let us know in the comments. Other than that, I'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.